Hey there, ejaculation here, coming at you live through the power of Trisomy 21. That's Down syndrome, right? That's why I'm so slow. Anyway, here's the last chapter of The Journey of Graves. Only took me 10 years to get all this done, but it's all right. I'm here, I'm recording, and you're gonna listen because that's why you're here, because you're too lazy to read and I'm not. So let's get started. The Journey of Graves, When the Man Comes Around, Chapter 8, the final chapter. A moment passed, and then another. In the aftermath, it took some time to realize, but Twilight found that she didn't hurt at all. In fact, she was perfectly fine. Opening one eye ever so slowly, Twilight looked up and saw the one crying out was in fact the leader of the marshals. Bent over and face strained, he clutched at his right hand as silvery arcs of lightning danced across his skin. A few feet away, his spell gun cracked with the same electric energy, a faint puff of smoke escaping from the barrel as the spell charged inside faded.
Oi! Who did that?
He roared, clutching the back of his hand and turning from Twilight to stare around wildly.
Who? Show yourself!
The other marshals glanced at each other, confused and rather dazed. None of them had fired at their boss. Who would be that stupid? But save for the 5 girls remaining, the town square had cleared out. So if that was the case, then who? As a silvery needle of lightning struck his spell gun and exploded into a blast of electric light. 3 more times the thunder tolled, and the remaining marshals quickly dropped their weapons with echoed cries of pain.
Oi! Who's out there?
The leader of the marshals called out,
Show yourself!
Searching the surrounding buildings frantically, his eyes darted to and fro, but could not locate the assailant. Spotting his gun, he reached for it. At least, he would be able to defend himself, but was forced to jump back as another blast of electricity shocked the gun.
Oi, boss, what do we do?
The fat marshal called out. After seeing what had happened to their leader, none of them attempted to retrieve their weapons. It was simply too dangerous.
Oi, baby, get to the horses. We have to get out of here,
the lead marshal called out. With that, the 5 men made a hasty scramble from the pavilion where their horses were tied to their posts. But just as they managed to get onto the saddles, another clap of thunder sounded, even louder than before, and one of their numbers dropped to the ground, completely unconscious as arcing sparks skittered over his whole body. The marshals ran for it, kicking their steeds into full gallop, but the unrelenting lightning continued. Not nearly as fast as before, but still striking with the same pinpoint precision and even greater force than ever. The 3rd marshal fell as he tried to wheel his horse around, while the 3rd collapsed before he'd made it 10 pace. With only 2 left, they almost made it out of the town square, but another lightning bolt struck the 4th marshal, leaving only their leader to gallop out of sight. The 6 friends, the only ones still present. Oh, fuck. I need my pop filter. That's right. You screw on, you dirty little pop filter, you. Nice. Fuck! I thought it broke. There we go. There we go. Now you don't have to just deal with the sound. Where was I? The 6 friends, the only ones still present in the square, could only stare in amazement. 4 of the men who'd held the town hostage at gunpoint lay unconscious on the ground, unmoving save for the occasional twitch of electric shock. All this had happened, and it hadn't even been a full minute. It was Applejack who first shook herself out of her stunned stupor and called out.
Twilight, you okay?
She hollered out. With that call, the The 5 girls aroused themselves and rushed over to their friend, who still remained seated under the tent. "Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!" Fluttershy gasped, taking her friend's head in her hands and looking her over. "Are you okay, Twilight? They didn't hurt you, did they?" I don't think so," she said, her expression still slightly dazed and confused. Suddenly, her eyes snapped back into focus, and she looked around desperately. "Spike! Where's Spike? Is he okay?" "Hey, let me see," a low, gravelly voice called out from behind. Jumping, the girls spun around and were flatly startled to see the traveler from this morning trotting over. This initial surprise, however, was soon overtaken by an even greater surprise, for the mysterious bundle he'd been carrying on his back all day was now unwrapped, his contents laid out for the world to see. He had a spell gun. But the one he carried was different from the models they'd seen earlier. It was at least half again as long as the others, with a long scope attached at the top and a much thicker body. Also, the marshal's spell guns had gleaming silver barrels, polished till they shone like mirrors. This one was dull and gray and seemed to absorb the light. Though seemingly in good repair, the traveler's gun had many scratches, scuffs, and markings all over its well-worn surface. It was clearly a weapon that had seen extensive use. The 6 girls had only a moment to notice this. However, because the traveler quickly strode past them and knelt beside Spike to take a close look at the unconscious boy. Pulling up Spike's eyelids, he checked the pupils, then took his pulse, and finally examined the side of his jaw where a large bruise was already forming. After a moment or two of consideration, he stood up, unslung his rifle, and pointed it right at Spike, a low hum of a spell charge already beginning to build. "What are you doing?" Twilight asked in a panic. "Stop!" The spell gun fired, but instead of a blast of harsh white lightning or scarlet fire, a flurry of ephemeral green petals burst forth, swirling in the air for a moment, then began to gather on the blackish-blue bruise of Spike's face. With a faint glow, the petals sank into the skin and faded, revealing only smooth, unblemished skin underneath. Soon the petal had all vanished, and not a single part of the injury remained. "Can't do much first aid," the traveler said, slinging the spell gun on his back. "But he should be fine with that." "Oh, thank you," Twilight breathed, knees buckling as she collapsed onto the ground in absolute relief. First, being held at gunpoint, and then seeing what she thought was Spike, about to be made a head shorter. Well, it's enough to tire out a girl. The traveler, upon noticing this, reached into his coat and pulled out a small tinfoil packet. "Here, eat this," he said, handing out the packet to Twilight. She merely gave him a quizzical look. She was grateful to him, to be sure, but at this point, she didn't know what to expect from this definitively strange man anymore. "It's just chocolate," he said, unwrapping the packet and showing her the contents. "It'll help with the shock." "Oh, thank you," Twilight repeated as she took a bite. The sweet snack seemed to warm her up from the insides, and she quickly began demolishing the entire bar. "Oh, you got any more?" Diabetes Pie asked, eyes wide in anticipation. The young man looked at her, and almost smiling, reached into his coat for another packet, which Pinkie Pie received most gratefully. "So I reckon you're the feller who saved our bacon earlier?" Applejack asked, more statement than question at this point. "One way of putting it," the traveler said with a shrug. "Well, we sure are grateful," the freckled blonde continued, taking his hand up in a body-rattling shake. "Them marshals were causing a heap of trouble, and your fancy shooting really did the trick." "Yeah, too bad you didn't get 'em all," Rainbow Dash added with a slight look of disappointment. "Rainbow, don't be rude," Rarity admonished. "This man just saved Twilight's life." "I don't think he was going to go that far," Twilight said, her need for accuracy forcing her to speak up, despite what she'd been through. Rarity, however, remained unperturbed. "He threatened your good looks, darling," the seamstress sniffed, with a toss of violet locks. "And that's just as bad, if not worse." "Oh, right." Twilight said nothing else. After all, you just didn't argue with Rarity's logic.
Well, like I said, Rainbow Dash continued, we all appreciate it and all, but what do we do about the one that got away?
The traveler just looked at her. Who says he got away?
Huh?
Rainbow Dash replied dumbly. Where's the tallest building in town? The young man asked, already scanning the skyline for the answer.
I guess that'd be Town Hall. Over there,
Rainbow Dash said, pointing over his shoulder.
But why do you...
The rest of her question was cut off as the traveler took off running, his long strides eating up the distance as he headed straight for the aforementioned building. The 6 friends looked at each other in puzzlement.
What do you think he's doing?
Fluttershy asked curiously.
I don't know,
Applejack replied, but whatever it is, I reckon it's something worth seeing. And with that, the 6 friends took off after him, Twilight carrying Spike on her back, who now seemed more like he was asleep than unconscious. It was probably the snoring that gave it away. When they reached the inside of the town hall, the traveler was already halfway up the stairs to the upper gallery, setting Spike in the corner to curl up and finish his nap. They chased him up, finally arriving at the top floor, where he stood on the open veranda. From there, they had a clear view of the entire town and its surrounding countryside.
What are you doing up here?
Twilight gasped. The run up the long flight of stairs winded her. She was a scholar, for goodness sake, not a track star. The traveler merely pointed out towards the horizon, where a tiny speck was almost out of sight.
What's that you're pointing at?
Pinkie Pie asked as she bounced over the railing.
Oh, let me guess. Is it a raisin? Oh, no, raisins don't move. A bug. It's a bug, isn't it? A squishy little bug.
Is that... Rarity began, squinting her eyes to see better.
Good heavens, is that the marshal that got away?
The traveler just nodded as he began adjusting his spell gun.
Sir, I don't mean to be rude, she continued. But do you mean to fire it at a man riding full speed from this distance?
That's the plan, he said, giving the scope on top a slight twist.
Hey man, about what I said earlier,
Rainbow Dash began.
I really didn't mean what I said, you know. It's not like you have to go and prove anything. Really.
Don't worry, I'm not, he said, hefting the gun to check its balance as the familiar hum of spell charging began to grow in volume.
But what can you do from here?
Twilight asked, eyes towards the horizon.
He's almost out of sight. I mean, really, at this distance, it's almost guaranteed you'll miss.
The traveler glanced down at her, a mild look of surprise on his otherwise impassive face. Then again, for the first time any of the girls had yet seen, he smiled. Well, it wasn't exactly a smile. It was more of a grin. One of those sort of goofy, cocky, cocksure, full of confidence smirks men his age seemed to specialize in. It lit up his whole face, and for a moment, the discontinued emptiness around his eyes faded. Me, miss? He asked, giving his hat a little flick. Not by a long shot. With one swift motion, the traveler raised his rifle and pointed it out to the horizon. He stood perfectly still, the light of the afternoon sun reflecting off his gray eyes like silver discs. As he stood, his back straight, his arms steady, and his face set with a cool, unwavering determination. In that moment, the same thought ran through the minds of all the 6 girls. This is what a hero looks like. He fired. A furious clap of thunder roared as a brilliant lace of crackling white light erupted from the gun's barrel with an intense blast of wind. The girls cried out in surprise as the byproduct of the spell buffeted them. And though the traveler's coat whipped around him in a raging frenzy, he himself remained perfectly still, firm and unwielding, as he calmly watched the arcane bolt fly forth. Far faster than any arrow, the lance of energy flew across the countryside, drawing rapidly closer to the tiny, moving dot. The 6 girls crowded at the railing, eyes straining to see the result of the traveler's shot. The bolt drew closer and closer until there was a bright flash of light, as if a star had suddenly been born on the horizon. As the light faded, the 6 girls continued watching, waiting, and suddenly their eyes grew as they saw 2 specks in the distance. One continued to move at a pace of a galloping horse. The other was completely still.
Whoopee! Pinkie Pie screeched as she began bouncing around in excitement.
That was totally the most awesomely amazing, stupendous thing I've ever seen! Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh!
Rainbow Dash repeated over and over, her hands pressed to her cheeks in amazement.
That was so cool! Oh my gosh, you're like the coolest person of like all time ever!
I told you I don't miss, he said, pulling his hat over his eyes as he turned his back to them. Rarity and Fluttershy leaned curiously forward to examine him a little more closely. If they didn't know any better, they could have sworn that he was blushing.
Hey, Twilight, what's your pocket there all glowing and stuff? Applejack asked, pointing to her friend's hip. Reaching inside, the scholar girl found that the blank letter she'd received earlier was emitting a soft purple light. Unfolding it, she was quite surprised to see the elegant flowing text that was scrolling across the page.
Oh, a conditional event charm. Of course,
Twilight said, her eyes lighting up as she finally understood the nature of the message.
It's all so simple.
Well, that's nice and all, Applejack commented, but what does it say?
Oh, right. Twilight angled the paper so that both of them could read it together. Now hold on just a minute, Applejack said, after both of them had read the letter. Twice, in fact, to make sure they hadn't gotten it wrong. Trusted agent, Twilight thought. Awful brown coat, Applejack continued. You don't think. The two girls turned, eyes wide, to where Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie were busily flitting and bouncing around the traveler. And together, the two letter holders said at once, in perfect surround sound stereo,
You're the marshal? You're the marshal!
Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash crashed to the ground as the four girls stared at the ones holding the letter. Then back to the traveler.
What?
Rarity gasped, a rare moment of uncivilized behavior appearing with her surprise. The young man paused, as if trying to find a way to slink out of sight and avoid having to answer. But the way the six girls were looking at him pretty much made it clear that that wasn't happening. So with a sigh, he pulled open the right side of his coat to reveal a silver badge pinned inside. Like his spell gun, it was not nearly so shiny as the others had clearly seen better days, but the winged shield still stood proudly on its scratched, worn surface.
Well, land shakes,
Applejack breathed.
I reckon he really is a marshal.
Oh my gosh,
Rainbow Dash squealed.
That makes you like 50 times cooler than before.
With that, she and Pinkie Pie began bouncing around in uncontrollable excitement again. The others just ignored them. How'd you know? The traveler asked, Twilight handing him the letter so that he could read it himself. This is what it read.
To my dearest and most faithful student, if you're reading this letter now, it means the events that have transpired as expected. Recently, I've received reports that a group of my marshals have been abusing their authority and of their post to terrorize citizens. While it pains me to admit it, not even the royal marshals are completely free of corruption. In order to correct this, I've sent one of my most trusted agents to you in order to catch them in the act. With this spell activated, it means that my agent has successfully dealt with the corruption of the marshals, and all is well. And that being said, I should tell you that the reports of wild animals running rampant close to Ponyville are completely true. This is why I also decree that my agent remain in Ponyville until the threat is cleared and the town's safety is clearly assured. If you're not sure who he is, just find the quietest person you don't know yet and ask him about to see his and ask to see his badge. I hope that you'll welcome him warmly and treat him with extra kindness, for he is not very good at making friends. Signed, Princess Celestia of Equestria. Oh, P.S. Oh, and make sure to ask Rarity to replace that awful brown coat of his. It's about time that boy updated his wardrobe.
I'm sorry, but I'm so sorry. I apologize. I can't help myself. I get bored, you see. After he finished reading, the traveler stood in silence, clearly thinking over the things he'd just seen. The girls looked on, curious about how he'd react. He finally spoke.
There's nothing wrong with my coat,
he mumbled sullenly. At this, Rainbow Dash literally crashed on the ground, clutching her sides in uncontrollable laughter. Well, you clearly could do better for yourself, Rarity added, eyeing the coat very appraisingly. Might I suggest... Not now, Rarity, Applejack interjected. We have more important business to take care of. Right, Rarity agreed over her fashionable friend's indignation. Like, for starters, why didn't you tell us you were a marshal in the first place? The young man looked from one to the other before pulling his hat over his eyes.
I don't like announcing that, he said simply.
Why not? Twilight continued, her curiosity fully aroused now.
Always leads to disappointment.
The traveler shrugged. Disappointment? Fluttershy asked in surprise. But how? Looking back and forth at the girls, it was clear to the traveler that he wasn't getting away with it until he had answered all their questions. So with a long sigh, he began to explain. People expect a lot from marshals. They're supposed to be helpful, kind, cool, and heroic. He gave Applejack, Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash, and Rarity each a look in turn. And while not all of us are as bad as those down there, he continued, flicking a thumb at the still unconscious villains, people like me just don't live up to half those expectations. So I figured it's better just finish a job and move on. Once finished, the young man folded his arms and leaned up against the wall, clearly done sharing on the topic. The 6 girls looked at each other, then back at him. So what you're saying, Twilight began, a subtle smile coming on, is that a marshal is supposed to be a lot of things. Like really helpful when there's folks in need? Applejack suggested as she recalled the way he'd lend a hand down at the farm. And really nice and not scary at all? Fluttershy whispered, thinking how quickly both Angel Bunny and herself had gotten to liking him. And wickedly awesome / totally cool. Rainbow Dash grinned as she remembered the way he'd made his last shot against incredible odds. And of course, heroic in every sense of the word. Rarity smiled, eyeing the way how even now, just standing there with his arms crossed, the traveler exuded the same strength and reliability he'd shown them all earlier. And totally fun, too, Pinkie Pie giggled. The other girls just stared in confusion. What? He ate a whole pie! A whole pie! That's amazing. So in other words, Twilight continued, all of those things a marshal should be, and you don't even think you live up to those expectations? Those are all things a marshal should be, and you don't think you live up to those expectations? Pretty much, he said levelly, and yet, despite the composure of his voice and a hat obscuring his face, the 6 girls could clearly see a flush of embarrassment tinting the traveler's cheeks. The girls couldn't hold it in anymore, and burst into fits of laughter that so startled the traveler he actually jumped away from the wall. Anything you'd like to share, he said, eyeing them suspiciously. Maybe he was paranoid, but he had the distinct feeling they were laughing at him. No, it's nothing, Twilight said, wiping away a tear. Yeah, Applejack continued, trying to suppress another chortle. We were just thinking that since the princess told you to stay with us, well, we might as well take you in. Despite being such a big disappointment, Rainbow Dash snorted, bursting out into fresh peals of laughter as she did. I see, the traveler answered dubiously. He really didn't, but what else could he say? Well, now that we've gotten that taken care of, Rarity said as the first to finish laughing, though the hint of a smile still tugged at the corner of her lips. There's still one thing we'd like to ask you. Oh, the traveler said, raising an eyebrow out of curiosity. What's that? What's your name, silly? Applejack said, giving him an exasperated smile. Yeah, if we're going to be friends from now on, we got to know what to call you. I mean, it'd be pretty lame if we went around just calling you Mister all the time, right? Well, I guess it would, he replied, the faint traces of a smile now playing across his face as well. So, anyway, what's your name? Rainbow Dash asked, as all 6 looked on expectantly. Graves, he said with a small tip of his hat. It's a pleasure to meet you all. The 6 friends glanced at each other and smiled. Graves. It fit. Well, Mr. Graves, Twilight grinned, I'm Twilight Sparkle. These are my friends Applejack, Pinkie Pie, Rarity, Fluttershy, and Rainbow Dash. Welcome to Ponyville.
To be continued! The journey of Graves will continue with the second story. So happens next. Will you tune in? Will you see what happens with Graves and Ponyville? Will he find love? Will he find a new hat? To be continued in next story.
All right, now that that's out of the way. Geez, it's been a long time. I apologize, but life gets in the way. I say I'm lazy, but I really mean that. Life gets in the fucking way. I literally just got out of the hospital. I almost fucking died. I need a fucking kidney. So, if you're real positive, that's nice. I'd like your kidney. I'll steal it if I have to. But hey, it's good. It's good to finally finish something. I'm not someone who usually finishes stuff. I don't even know why I started this to begin with. Honestly, years ago, you fucking listened to autistic shit on the internet. You're like, hey, I could do that. I'll do it. And then some people kind of like what you're doing, and you continue for a bit, and then you lose motivation because you're lazy, and you stop uploading, and maybe some other stuff happens, like Doompie coming back and making everybody leave by deleting videos and stuff. That's fun, when you bring a community together and everyone fucking fucks off. That's always fun. That's a good time. That is. I love it. Am I going to continue? Is the question that you probably want the answer to. I don't blame you if you've been here for all this time. I don't know if you're new. I don't really care. The answer to that is it's complicated. Because you got to look at it. What am I doing? I'm reading stories aloud on the fucking internet. Who wants to do that? That's boring. This is somebody else's creativity. This is a well-really written story. I'm not a very linguistically talented person, okay? I'm not a writer. This person, this GentlemanJ, he wrote a good fucking... Sorry, I shouldn't swear. I told him years ago I wouldn't swear, so... Zip. He wrote a good story. He wrote a lot of good stories. And... it's kind of, it feels like just plagiarism. It feels like you're just stealing someone else's content to put yourself up. That's what it feels like. You're not really contributing anything. You're not really doing anything interesting. You're putting your voice out there, and that's it. For people who, no offense, you're listening to a story read on the internet when you could read it yourself. And I don't understand that now. Years ago, I guess I kind of like that. I mean, I'm lazy. I like because I got into Flash years ago, and I needed stuff to listen to, and this was one of the things I'd listen to aside from music. Now I prefer music or podcasts, but yeah, I'm gonna continue talking, by the way, so just expect that. The story's finished, and I'm not gonna say any more about that. But sorry, my voice is giving out. So, you have to give me a second here to get my thoughts out. Gotta be real with you. Gotta be human. Gotta give some humanity. Gotta give some thoughts, some reasons to my life and my being. Gotta talk to somebody because I don't have a therapist. Yeah, I don't. It's just. Why do I want to steal other people's content to try to put myself up? It doesn't feel right to me. And maybe you don't feel like it. That's what's being done. So maybe if you're an author, you like the fact that other people are reading your stories out and putting them out there for other people to enjoy. And I get that. That could be a reason to want to put your stories out there and be cool and have people enjoy your stuff, because that's why you're writing. You want people to read your stuff. I was gonna say something else there, but I didn't. See, I caught myself. You want people to enjoy your content. I mean, that's why we're creative. We want people to understand us as creative individuals, and that's why I'd rather be working on my own content. And I don't mean writing. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a linguistically talented individual. I'm more of a visually talented individual. I know how to make things move properly. I understand motion because I've worked with it for so long now. I mean, I'm not the best artist in the world, but I can still put myself out there and make things that are somewhat interesting. Not really. I mean, all I've ever made are shitty MLP animations. If you haven't seen my channel, Intrapulation, go check it out. I've uploaded a few things over the course. I mean, I haven't uploaded anything in like probably 2 years now because, I don't know, your life gets complicated. I mean, I have a few projects in the works that they take so long. They really do. Animation's hard. But yeah, I was maybe gonna upload it. I'll upload probably an update video explaining stuff further. But I just want to put this here for anyone who's still listening. I'd rather make my own things than read others. And I think that's just, I probably should have just said that, and I could have saved. I don't know how long this has been recording for. After I finish the story, I'm guessing I've been going on for at least 7-8 minutes now. Like I said, that's what it feels like. I'm not going to edit this. I'm just going to keep it all there. Well, maybe I'll like remove one thing because I think I just had a brain fart, but still. I'd rather make things that people can enjoy rather than, I mean, people enjoy this. Why else are you listening, right? But I'd rather put my own content out there. I'd rather be slightly known in a small little internet community that's dead practically, for something that's originally mine than something that isn't. And I hope you can respect that. So yeah, I'll put a link to my channel like I usually do. I don't know, check out my fucking... I was going to say something else there. Check out my animations, because I'm still working on Flash projects. And they're a lot more of higher quality than they used to be. Before, I just tween garbage. But now, I'm getting into more frame-by-frame stuff, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. Friendship is Madness 2 is still on the ropes. For anyone who remembers that little gem. I have a Christmas animation I'm very proud of. That looks pretty good. I love it. I don't know if it's going to turn out good because a lot of it is actually just nothing. But still, and that sentence will make sense when I actually put it out. It's a Diamond Tiara on Anon animation. I'm going to be making a lot of... I wrote out a whole script of a series of animations about Anon and the main six. The Pinkie Pie one is hilarious. I really like the concept of the Pinkie Pie one. She's like a drug dealer, and Anon goes to her for his little kink, and that's cute. And there's the Rarity one I need to work out more. The Applejack one I probably should flesh out more. The Twilight one I don't really know what to do with aside from something really silly. I like the concept of the Fluttershy one. The Fluttershy one gives me a smile. I'm not making cute animations, by the way. I want to make something that's kind of more dark and funny. Because I have a very dark sense of humor. I'm very edgy. I have the edgy 4chan poll humor, so expect that. And if you don't, though, you can flip off. You can frig off back to your. I can't say the edgy shit. I promised I wouldn't be. I said shit. Fuck. I'm gonna shut up now. I swear way too much. But yeah, okay. Expect an update video. I will put an update video where I'll make a script so it isn't as like this. And it'll be compact, it'll be simple, and you'll understand it, and there won't be babbling, and hopefully we can move on. Because I'm probably... I don't think I'm going to continue uploading on this channel. I know Doompie, or Jeremy, whatever you want to call him. I don't know if you know him as Jeremy. Shit, I might have just doxed his info. He's probably sad now. I know he's uploading again, so, you can enjoy his stuff. That's why you subscribed to begin with, probably. Or maybe you subscribe because of me. Well, if you subscribe because of me, and you like me because I'm a sexy boy, well, I have a channel that I upload stuff very rarely on. And I'll tell you, it's a good idea to maybe click that subscribe button, that dirty little subscribe button. But yeah, there you go. I'm probably going to upload more on it. Maybe I'll make a Discord server and you can talk to me. Just don't get too clingy. I swear to God, there's just too many clingy people on the internet. I had this problem with this kid on Skype because I made the problem a few years. I made the mistake a few years ago of putting my Skype out there for people to contact me if they wanted to upload stuff to the Doompie Network or join or whatever. And you get the weirdest people trying to contact you, and it's like I don't want to know you. Please stop. Don't bother me. There's very few people I want to know. I'm very annoyed by individuals who desire my attention. Treat me like shit, and I'll probably like you. But if you like sniffing farts and licking feet, then I'm not gonna enjoy your company. Not that I like talking to people. I'm autistic, but yeah. Maybe I'll make a Discord server or something. I don't know. It's what internet. That's what cool internet celebrities do, right? They make Discord servers and for their Patreon supporters. Support me on Patreon. I need to make that rent money. I need to get my new Wacom Simtique, and you little pay piggies are gonna have to pay for it. This has been going on for far too long. Maybe you like listening to me. Maybe you clicked off an hour ago, because that's what I would have done. When anyone babbles and I don't like them, I can't listen to them talk. There's people I can listen to talk to. There's people I can listen to talk for hours because I like the way they talk, and I have no idea if you like the way I talk. If you don't, click away. Click away. I'm not for you. Our love can never blossom. But if you like it, stay, because I understand that and I can respect that. I can respect it. Yeah. All right. That's all for now. Expect an update video that I'll upload because I still have admin access to this account, even though Doompie changed the password. Ooh! So, yeah, there you go.